Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. We're Indy investors talking about Indy investing. This episode is brought to you by Cyria. I want to thank Dave Short and Sterling Davis for being on here with me today. So today, I'm really excited about this because we are going to dig into just a couple programs, a couple coaching, mentoring programs that we have going on within Indianapolis right now. I know Dave just wrapped one up and he's looking to do it. He's now a guru. He's all excited about it and stuff. So Sterling and myself, along with Darren Finney, have something coming out too that we want to just kind of talk about and preview a little bit. So with that, let's get on with the show. All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. I got Sterling and Dave with me here again today. And Dave, man, I'm just going to throw it over to you. So you have just wrapped up, basically you did a coaching program or just a kind of a mentoring program of people that want to start flipping properties, right? So let's just I want to throw this over to you and just what was this program? What all did you get into? And yeah, let's just start with that.
Well, we just finished last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday a true 3-day boot camp to give people knowledge about flipping houses from A to Z. And as part of that, we discussed everything about the flipping side of it and the opportunities in flipping houses in the Indianapolis market or from whatever market you might be in. We had people come in from San Diego, Cleveland, Oregon, and Denver that participated in our class, which I felt honored that people would make that kind of commitment to come and hear me for 3 days. So, but what we did is, when I say A to Z, we broke down everything about flipping. One of the examples was people are skilled in different areas of their life, so they need to bring all areas to get a rounded education on flipping houses and doing real estate in Indianapolis. For instance, we spent almost a half a day sourcing and showing people how the leads are. This year, myself, I've done 22 flips for the year. And of the 22 flips that we've done, I got them from 14 different sources. So it wasn't a one trick pony to get a bunch of properties. And we discussed 30 places that a person can go and cultivate to get flip houses in Indianapolis or in any marketplace. And people just got their eyes open and said, wow, I never thought of that. Wow, I never thought of that. And everybody who does flipping in Indianapolis or newer people, their big items is we have to get them off the MLS and we have to compete against 15 other flippers to get that property. Well, and we went down in the last 2 years, I've only bought one house off the MLS. So that's my least favorite source to find a flip. And we try to coach them in how you get one-on-one for the flip house where you don't have competition. So, and it's very, very important. We spent a lot of time showing them how to work with contractors. Contractors is my big issue of getting good and skilled contractors. So we show them how to vet these contractors. We give them all kinds of hints that if the contractors are asking questions like this, or you're asking questions and they're answering this way, you need to be a little concerned. Probably the biggest tip that we give them with contractors, and it's saved me more than once, is don't ever get ahead of the money. And you pay them when the work's completed, and if they can't wait 4 or 5 days to complete a job to get paid for, you probably have the wrong contractor in the job. So, and then that way, if you have to terminate them or it's not working well, you haven't lost money. You bring in somebody else to continue your job. Yeah. It's amazing that we've had people in our class that have pre-wrote a check for up to $80,000 for a contractor to do the job, hoping that they get it done. And that's
Front property in Idaho.
yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like there was all kinds of aspects. Our mentoring program is probably designed around people that maybe have some experience where they've got in, maybe they've done a flip that's been very unsuccessful. We had one gal, and she's really a hard worker. She had she lived out of state and bought a house based on an inexperienced realtor's opinion because things were going so well in this area to buy it. They bought it from a wholesaler, and they didn't get to see the boots on, she didn't have anybody she could trust to walk through this house for boots on the ground. So she overpaid. The budget was way over. Probably the only thing she was successful in doing is that she, the contractor was actually good, did his job for a fair price. So she's very lucky there, or she would get crushed. Mm-hmm. One of the things we show them, and it likes, I'm a big fan of wholesalers. I buy a lot of properties from wholesalers, but they need to understand the wholesaler's position in the market and their position in that particular house. So wholesalers sometimes, may make a fee that a person thinks that's just excessive for selling the house. And we use the example that maybe the wholesaler bought it for 50 and sold it for 60. Well, that seems like a lot on the surface, but they got to understand that the wholesaler might be paying $30,000 a month in hard cost to get deals. So their cost to acquire that deal could be $6,000 on a typical wholesaler. So they're really only making $4,000. They're not jabbing you. They're not jabbing the seller. They have a business model that works for the seller. So, and that really opens them up. So they're not, they figure out you're making 10 grand as the wholesaler, and they understand, well, maybe they're not. I've bought from wholesalers before where I know they've made $1,000. So they basically paid money to sell me that house based on their cost and overhead. Mm-hmm. So I get that. So, and, so there was so much to do, and for them to, there's a cost of having hard money in our business. Well, I'm okay with that, but there's certain areas that hard money shouldn't be used. And if it's used, you have to be very cautious, because the hard money lenders, they're more than a bank. If the rate, if the annual percentage rate exceeds 15 or 16 or 17%, they're your partner. And that's okay, but you have to understand that going in.
Right.
So I know I started to ramble. I know you might have some questions.
You're the guru, man. You can say whatever you want. But let me ask you this. How important, and you've been doing this for a while, and I think one of the great things that I see about you is everybody knows Dave's a buyer. Like, right? Like, hey, do you know somebody buy it? I don't know, Dave will. Like, how important it is for you that people understand that you're in the market to buy.
Well, I tell you where I get just a huge advantage is a lot of times I can't buy from, let's say I'll use simple wholesaling, tremendous thing, but their price model sometimes prices me out of the market, but their price model also, and their attraction to property is stuff that I normally wouldn't buy. But what happens is when these wholesalers, and where I get a lot of opportunities because people know I'm a buyer, is that I get an opportunity when they're about to lose their deal, and they need somebody that can come to the table on a 24-hour notice and buy the house. So now I get my best price from them. we bought one. We've got one we're closing next week downtown. Perfect example. It's near downtown. It's a condo. It's a great, it's a great unit. And the wholesaler had it sold with a $25,000 assignment fee. Well, his buyer backed out 2 days before, and he called me. He said, Dave, I can make a better deal if you can bring the money to the closing in a couple of days. So I went and looked at it. I want the guys who I do business with to make money. So I didn't try to, I knew what his buy number was, but I work my numbers and give them a number that they could get a fair return, and they're willing to do business with me. Well, I'll get that call this time. I'll get it next time. I'll be the only guy he calls to shop that deal because he knows I'm going to be fair with him, and I'll do what I can do and still make our spread. So just being in that position in the marketplace, and we all can get there. You just have to be able to, you have to be willing to perform, because I had this deal Friday and I had a couple others, and, they want to close Tuesday at 1. And I said, I need to know as soon as possible so I can place the deal and get the funds to the closing. So it puts a pressure on them not to maybe shop me somewhere else for a couple $1,000.
Yep.
Right.
And wholesalers have paid to get their leads. So I can't begrudge them. I would love to be in their space, but I can't afford, and nor do I have the time to get in their space. So I have to rely on their expertise to bring me transactions.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point that I want to kind of just point out one more time. For whatever you're in, if you are in, if you're a wholesaler, if you are a flipper, if you are, buy and hold, of what Dave kind of brought up there of just cultivating the relationships and having those relationships with people because you can perform. So I know that's where we end up getting some pretty good deals. Just like Dave said of, hey, a deal is sometimes deals fall out when they're trying to wholesale or things like that. So if you have the money and you have the backing to be able to perform within a couple of days, that puts you in a big advantage. So by cultivating those relationships, by letting people know like, hey, I can do this. I can take on this property and take on the escrow agreement because they need 30 days to move out. Those things are going to put you in an advantage. So you don't have to be in such a competitive market when it comes to buying off the MLS or competing against other wholesalers when they just put out a first property, because you're going to have a lot of people that you are competing against. But by being in that position and cultivating those relationships like Dave has and having the money, the backing behind it to be able to perform within a couple of days goes a long way. So that's something I think is very important. And Dave, I'm glad you kind of pointed that out, man. So let's kind of get back into within that class of, so what's kind of next? What's that next step? I feel like just everything you talked about, there's such great content there. So you've packed a ton of stuff into 3 days. I know there are a couple of people that I saw even just like posting stuff of like, hey, I'm here with Dave Short, first day. It's lunchtime and it's worth the money already and stuff like that. So what's kind of next for those people that you've kind of you had 32 people in that class that just gained all this knowledge. So what's kind of that next step for them?
Well, the next step is we have an advanced part of the class. And just to preface that, the third day of the morning is the students got to visit 4 projects that we have going. One of them was completed, and this is how I want you to show your property. The second one was halfway done. The third one is, we just bought it and we haven't started anything on it. And the fourth one is one that we've sold. We're closing it the Monday. We closed a Monday. But it's a new mortgage. So it's a new strategy that we teach that I think has probably the most long-term positive effects in what we do. So what we do is offer our students at the end, if they want to go to an advanced class where they get to be involved on one specific house, and every week to 10 days, we meet the six max students. We meet them at the class and they get to interact with the contractors. They see what it looked like before. We get to visit it every 10 days and they walk through the house, see the progress that we have on the house. And then every 10 days, they know what we have in the house in relationship to budget. We scope the house out, but what they do is they effectively loan me the money to do the flip. And for their funds, they get the knowledge of walking through a particular flip on an extended period of time, up to 3 months. And then at the end of the time, we sell the house and their capital's returned. So it's a no risk situation for them as far as putting up the money, and they get advanced training. I mean, I can take it a step further. One of the students had just went through a boot camp, an 80-hour online meetings with gurus out of California. And he had paid in excess of $40,000 for that and the information. And he felt the kind of training that we're putting forth was so much better, just a fraction of the cost. And because they were dealing with people with boots on the ground. Yeah. And it's amazing of the people. There's already been partnerships formed with people in the group that are doing deals with former students. So it's a long-lasting effect, and the results of the people who have been in our previous classes is, they're in the business, or they might have spent money to know they can't do this. It's not in their DNA to get it done. And one of the guys said, that's the best money I've ever spent because I didn't get in the middle of a flip.
So, and we'll keep everybody updated too on when that kind of next. I know Dave just finished this one up, so I don't think he's ready to be like, hey, I got one coming next week too. I'm loving it now. So we'll keep everybody updated on kind of when that next thing is coming and stuff. But Dave, I do have one more question for you. Just comment on this. So you said the people that are in here, they have a little bit of experience. They're not the ones that just watch HGTV one day and sign up for this the next day and stuff. So they have a little bit of knowledge, a little bit coming into this. But what are like maybe the top 1 or 2 questions that usually the people in that room kind of have for you, or come in, that there's questions they have for them coming into that of what they have about what you're going to be teaching them?
Well, a lot of the people have some, I'll call it discretionary funds that they would like to put at work to do flips or to do something in regards to real estate. So one of the things that we show them how to do is to bring in partners and to get private capital and be able to set up joint venture agreements. So it's like, how do I get in it? And, and they just want to know about their weaknesses on it. So we cover ways to take away their weakness. And, we talk a lot about, how adverse are they to risk?
Right.
Most people don't know how adverse they are to risk until they make the decision they've got to take the risk.
My wife does.
Then we quickly know it. And one of the things that, like you said, my class is geared that maybe they've been around the block, or they tried to go around the block. Where I know you guys are putting together a mentorship program that's going to last several months. And I want to hear what you guys are looking for, because I think your class can get them prepared to take my class and take the next step.
Yeah, 100% on that. So ours kind of would be that kind of first step to what kind of Dave's talking about here with this program and stuff. So basically myself, along with Sterling Davis and Darren Finney, we kind of put this together, and really we just kind of looked at like Indianapolis, like where is there a need, where there is a need for investors. And this really extended, once we got into it, realized like this extends further than Indianapolis and stuff. But really what it is that people need help learning how to acquire a property. So whatever their strategy is, if it's wholesaling or buy and hold or fix and flip, whatever their strategy is, they need help and a little bit of coaching, a little bit of mentoring on how to acquire that property. So we're putting together a program. It's going to come out. We're going to start this in mid-October. We'll have more details and stuff as this comes out. But Sterling, do you just want to kind of put into words kind of a little bit of kind of our reasoning behind this and kind of what we're hoping to gain for just the community, the investor community with this?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited for this. I mean, I think we've been toying with an idea like this for a while. Me and Brian have discussed this, because one of the things that I always say that makes me a good investor is my property management business. And I don't mean that by like, oh, because I have a property management business. What I mean that by is I'm able to see through people different opportunities and the failures, the wins, the things that worked, the things that didn't work. So we always, and I think same with Brian, like Brian's able to sell these properties to people, and he sees the success, and he sees the ones that win. He sees all these different things, and that's what makes for a good investor is being able to have that hands-on, tangible things, so that you get real results. I think one of the things that all three of us would agree on is not just selling people on things that don't give them true value. And value is the thing that we really want to do with REI jumpstarters and things, right? So it's one of those things that is when they leave here, they're having a testimonial like Dave Short when they say, hey, I went to this big guru that paid out the wazoo when money, and for you, I had hands-on, boots on the ground, able to talk to you for a third of that cost, right? After you told me that story, Dave, I'm like, man, we're charging too low.
Well, it's actually 3% of that cost, Sterling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, man, what? So, I mean, ideally, what we want to be able to do is take somebody through our coaching program, and wherever they are, come out on the other end a better investor and ready to buy their house. They're going to be ready to wholesale that next house or hold that next house, and have an effective plan to do so.
Yeah.
So Sterling, I was going to say, Brian, on that, and I think what you do, you attract the investor that's willing to put time and money to their education. Mm-hmm. I get so many people that, I give my free class, and on Dinner and Deals, and give a lot of valuable information there. And yet when, you say you're doing this class for X number of dollars, they're not willing, then I know they'll participate. If people pay, they will participate, and they really, really want the knowledge that you're going to through. And, my son, it's a perfect example I tried to get him to come to my boot camp. And he said, well, I can be there, maybe part of Saturday, part of Friday. And I said, I don't want you there at all. I said, unless you're committed to be there every day. I said, people are there paying really good money to get the expertise, and you're not ready to accept the knowledge that will go there. So, if you can't be a willing participant, then, but, it's nothing against him because he's got a family. And hell, you were supposed to be there, Sterling. You had a wedding,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was supposed to be there. No.
And but
freaking friends still getting married in COVID.
My son is ultra successful in the brokerage side of the business, and that's his niche. I get it. It's not a big deal. But the people that were there, the 32 people, they were there. They were on time. They were taking notes. And they interacted with me and everybody in the room during, they didn't leave for lunch. They stayed for lunch. It was a total interactive situation for 7 hours a day. And and basically they just soaked everything up that we brought. And your class like yours is kind of the same thing. They'll learn all these strategies. Darren's he's a perfect example. He took our class a couple years ago. Been a very successful flipper now. I've actually done joint ventures with him and several other people that have been in our class. So it's a stepping stone to the next level that you guys are offering at just a fraction of what the information. I mean, I paid $300, $400 for some training last week. I get educated every day. So
and I think that's the thing that is really important is like, when you're coming into we're not just, this is not just to the locals. This is to the out-of-state guys that want to start investing in Indiana, but doesn't understand the landscape of Indiana. They don't know who they can trust when it comes to building their teams. They don't know who they can trust when it comes to financing and what makes sense when it comes to financing versus not financing, right? So this is the perfect example and opportunity that they can kind of have multiple people that are in this market that I think have really good names in this market to be able to give them some instruction.
Yeah, one of the biggest things behind this is so we've entitled this the REI Jumpstarters. That's what this goal is for us to be able to help you jumpstart your real estate investing career. And really what this is too, we want to build a community. We want to have a community within Facebook, within YouTube, just within the group itself and stuff. So that's one of the big things behind it. But, we're going to go through some different modules, like, how to pick your strategy, what all the different strategies there are, things like that, how to find funding, how to build your buyers list, how to build your team, how to work with your marketing and branding stuff, how to talk to sellers, how to negotiate, how to do contracts and title. And then with all that of just how to analyze deals all along the way and stuff. So that's our goal within it. And that's what we want to kind of build within that. And it's going to be a multiple month program and stuff that I know I'm really excited about. I know every time we sit down and meet, coming off of, with talking with Sterling, talking with Darren, of all the ideas that we have coming into this, and the way we're building this is really exciting. And then especially coming off of what Dave just did, of seeing the success that he had, and we're like, oh, okay, we need to incorporate this because this will feed right into something that Dave's doing, or this is going to feed into some other things that Cyrie is working with, and those types of things, which gets me really excited. And I feel like can put investors in a really good spot for what they're doing in Indianapolis and beyond, really.
Just the commitment to do that, and will make your job so much easier to be able to train these people. And it's just the students don't realize just how much there are. We spent an hour and a half talking about how important, and for these reasons, why you want a good title company on your side.
Yeah.
So you fight to get the closing where you want to go, because your transaction will go smoother. Mm-hmm. And a good title company can bring so much value to a flipper.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For anybody. Yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah. So Dave, before we get out of here on this topic, I got one more question for you. So I want you to look at it from the viewpoint of the student that's going into your class or going to sign up for our program, whatever it is. What should be their mindset when they go into something like this of, hey, I'm ready for this. I'm going to take this on. I'm going to be here. Like you already mentioned, like I'm going to be present. I'm going to be in the moment and stuff like that. But what's your advice to them as they go into something like this?
Well, the mindset for a student is obviously it's like pre-existing thoughts probably should be put out of your mind. I mean, the thing that we tell people is, in Indiana, you get your real estate license, go to the school, pass the test, then you forget everything that you learned there because it's not practical knowledge. HGTV is not practical knowledge in flipping. It creates interest in flipping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And then a mindset that we quickly, it's in our first 10 minutes, our mindset is that flipping or dealing in different aspects of real estate it's hard, it's complicated, but it's ultra rewarding.
Absolutely.
And so if you go in with that mindset that this is not easy, I mean, flipping is a really hard business, and to do multiple projects, you really have to have a keen business sense.
Yeah, I think that's everybody, we can tell you that any of this stuff is not easy. We're all in it and fairly successful with what we've been doing, but we grind each and every day, and we're in it, and there's days that are tough.
I mean, Sterling's is the hardest business I know, because we've tried to do it, and I'm thinking, God, this kid's so smart to be doing this. Why would he not be doing it? And he's so dumb to be doing it.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, his business is really, really hard, but the difference is it's essential.
Yeah.
It's essential. And then we tell people that real estate's just the vehicle. The property management is the key to success.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we have a really good team, and it's just crazy. I've been doing this for going on 10 years now. And, when I first got into this, I would never think that it was not a goal of like growing this thing to be as large as possible. It was just kind of fulfilling a niche inside the marketplace. And now
Sterling, I can tell you what your niche was when you started. Here's your niche. Man, if I can manage 30 properties at 100 a property, I'm going to make $300,000 and not have to do any work.
Exactly. Exactly. Like,
That's
I mean,
that's the property management business from the outside until you've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Until
the
you've done
hardest
it.
business, all the stuff we do for sure.
It's a lot easier when you own the property yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was owning,
Right.
you know, these things on land contract, and I'm like, dude, this is easy. You know, that's 4 properties now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to do 4 properties. It's hard to do 400 properties.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, fellas. So really appreciate both you guys. Really appreciate your insights and what you're providing for this real estate investing community. So excited to see kind of, you know, what comes next and what we're going to all do together, individually, together, all that stuff. So thank you so much for joining me. And with that, that's another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. Take care.